So let's talk Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor. Controversy over the past few weeks with the scoring, with how the different people view the fight. First of all, I'd like to say that I didn't agree with the scores. I was sat amongst ex-fighters, ex-champions, laymen, professionals, and 90% of the people around me, without being prompted or cajoled by his neighbour, scored it more or less the same, that Catterall won the fight. What baffled me was how the judges came to the decision they came to. And sad as it is, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think anything's going to be done about it. I think we've seen it before with I don't know, we can go all the way back to Lennox and Evander.
Yeah. You know, I've been on this for bad decisions. We have a 10-point must system, but 99, I think I've mentioned this on air before, 99% of all the rounds are scored 10-9 or 10-8. We need to go further down on the scale. We need 10-5 rounds, 10-6 rounds. Everybody wins a round we're still scoring in rounds. We're not scoring by how much you won the round. If they were to score in a finer situation, I think this would change it. You've got to give guys more credit for how big they win a round. The Catterall won a round by very close, he's getting 1 point. If he won it big, he's getting 1 point. The same with Taylor. Those rounds were not all 10-9. You can't tell me each round. You're basically saying with every 10-9 round, which it was with the exception of the knockdown, that every single round was equal. That's an impossibility. They've got to have more 10-10-6 rounds and teach the judges how to score.
You say, I understand what you're saying there, but the problem is this. So that fight in particular, Catterall won the first 6 rounds hands down, but then struggled the last 6 rounds. So would that rub out his success in the early part of the fight if they did that sort of scoring system where it was like 10-7, 10-6, 10-5?
Right. Well, remember, like you just said, he won the first 6 rounds, he won and then lost the last 6 rounds. But we're still thinking in rounds. We didn't say he won the first, he had 96 points the first 6 rounds, and he had 66 points the red, right? That's how we still think. In basketball, you give the score. It's 88-84. You don't say they won the first 2 quarters and then they lost the next 2 quarters. In baseball, we have 9 innings. It's just the mental way that we've been raised. And the judges do the same thing. There should be a thing, there should be no even round a 10-point scoring system. That's impossible. If you have 9 points variation, but then you have to say, well, what's a 10-1 round? You have to define it. And then go up a 10-2, a 10-3, a 10-4. All knockdowns are not the same. If you're knocked down and you're up in a second, that can count as much as that should count less than if you're knocked down and struggle up at 8. I mean, they've got to be finer in what they score. I think there's too many judges. Maybe we need less judges who just judge fights. Too many judges. Most of them are politically appointed. I heard a lot of criticism of the referee, a lot. And now, people said they didn't think it was justified in taking a point away from Taylor. What was your impression of that, John?
My impression was that the fight was getting dirty on both sides, and Catterall came to fight with fight, was prepared for that. Taylor seemed as though he wasn't happy somebody giving him what he got, giving him what he dished out. So I agreed. I agreed. Taylor, he was trying to bully. He was trying to hit after the bell when the referee said break. So he's listened to the referee. Catterall got 1 punter taken off because he broke the rules. And so I kind of agree that you can't let one be the bully and the aggressor, and the other one not. So I get that. The fight was going to be dirty. I don't think, with all the noise, all the complaints, all the upsets, I actually don't think it's going to change. I really don't, because until we can identify and sit the judges down and make them justify and tell us why he gave round 1, round 5, round 7, until that happens, this will keep happening, because these guys can hide behind their official. In this case, it's Robert Smith. So they can hide behind Robert Smith or whoever. And then he'll say, oh, we'll deal with it. We'll speak to them. Now, if you were a judge and you knew you'd be held accountable for the rounds you held, nobody influencing you outside the ring will be able to put that kind of pressure on you, because you basically got to sit down and say, I scored that round to him because of this. Believe me, not your lying eyes. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. They're never going to let us get a direct conversation with the judges for them to justify their ruling.
Yeah, well, the commission should hold them to task. And again, I would like to see a seminar where they say, this is the 10-point system. This is a 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, 10-6, 10-5. Use as many points as you can use. Then they'll say, well, the judge will have too much latitude. Well, and they could be corrupt. Well, if they're corrupt, they'll never work again. And if they don't do it right, you get rid of them. You don't keep letting people make mistakes consistently and then keep using them.
The problem is when you're talking about it's like the police policing the police. How can you actually believe that it's been a justifiable investigation? The questions because remember, everybody has to work together. So you can't ask the police because the police and their colleagues. So you've got to get an independent party to say, right, here we are. We have nothing to do with you, but we are going to give our independent opinion of our findings. I can't ask you to ask your wife to throw you under the bus. And
well, my wife might do that, John. So you got the wrong person. I got you. Sure. They're policing themselves, as you say. They're their own judge, jury, and executioner. So there's no objectivity there. How did Punch that come out with that? Did they say?
I don't know how. I don't know how it went on with that, but what about Taylor? What does he do now? Does he step up to 147 and chase the Crawfords? And the whispers were they try and slip it in with Carl Brook. I don't think that fight's as lucrative now after that after the weekend. Where does he go? What's he do? How do you think he stands in 147?
Well, look, what should be done is the organization should rule for an immediate rematch. Don King after the first Lewis Holyfield draw. He said, the only way I know how to resolve a controversy is to have a rematch. And he was 100%.
But Don, the problem there is, Taylor said he's not staying at 140 anymore. He'll give him a rematch in 147. So the opportunity for Jack Catterall to get all 4 belts and a Ring Magazine belt will never, ever come again. So unless they turn over the decision, this young man, this young man lost the chance of a lifetime.
Right. So if he doesn't, well, in all due respect to Catterall, what they should do, if Taylor won't give him the rematch for the title, he should have to relinquish it, and they should have Catterall fight immediately for the vacant title. At least that's one way to resolve it. Then if they want to fight again at 147,
that will happen. That will happen. They'll probably stand him in and say, "There you are. There's a token prize. You can be the mandatory challenger." Yeah.
Well, they can say, we can give you a chance at the title. We can't tell you which champion you're going to fight, So our job is to give you we can rectify the error by saying you'll get a fight for the title. We can't force Taylor to box at that weight if he doesn't want to. Where does Taylor go? I don't know. I think no one would think he'd have a chance against Terence Crawford at this point. I don't know what the impression there. He struggled here. I understand it's the weight, but Crawford's such a formidable puncher. To go up now, coming off a fight where he didn't really look very good at the weight, regardless of the excuse, and to fight a guy who's considered, the best welterweight, the best fighter in the next division up. I don't see, he'll have to fight a few guys. And maybe, like you say, Brook, it's maybe tarnished, but the fact it's tarnished, he's fighting an older fighter, maybe that adds to the luster. Maybe that'll give it a more competitive edge that people will think that Taylor and that Brook has a chance to beat Taylor.
I feel as though we're giving the impression that we're getting down on Taylor. Well, it wasn't Taylor's fault. Taylor just went in there and boxed. These were the judges. Taylor, up to this point, I said he was the best in the division. He was the best fighter at 140, and so it's not like we're hating on him because this guy was king of the hill. He's just grown out of it. He's just grown out of it, or met his bogeyman.
Could be certain guys that, like we're talking about Tyson and Holyfield. Tyson was a favorite in both fights. Even if after he got stopped by Holyfield, he was the favorite, a slight favorite, but still going into the rematch. Certain guys have your number. I don't know. I'd have to see them fight a few times before I could say whether this is one-on performance by Catterall or whether he's just the kind of fighter that was always going to be the nemesis for Taylor.
Don, the controversy rolls on. Thank you very much again. It's been an absolute pleasure. It always is, my friend.
Thank you, John. We'll see you next time out. God bless.